Author and filmmaker who pleaded guilty to campaign finance fraud in a New York Senate election, but is now breathing a sigh of relief.
All right, Dinesh D'Souza joins us right now for his first TV interview since his official pardon. Dinesh, what was it like to get the call from the president? Did you know it was coming?
I did not know. I was in my office just working away, and the operator came on the line and said, is this Dinesh D'Souza? Yes. Hold the line for the President of the United States. And there was Trump. And the President said, Dinesh, you've been a great voice for freedom. And he said that, I got to tell you, man to man, you've been screwed. He goes, I've been looking at the case. I knew from the beginning that it was fishy. But he said upon reviewing it, he felt a great injustice had been done, and that using his power, he was going to rectify it, sort of clear the slate. And he said he just wanted me to be out there, to be a bigger voice than ever, defending the principles that I believe in.
Dinesh, you tweeted this out. Obama and his stooges tried to extinguish my American dream and destroy my faith in America. Thank you, Donald Trump, for fully restoring both. Why do you feel like you were singled out by the Obama administration?
Well, here's the important thing, and that is that justice is not simply a matter of, hey, did you break the law? It's also a matter of, was the penalty proportion to the crime? And did other people who do the same thing get the same penalty? Now, I've become very familiar with these campaign finance cases over the past several years. No American in our country's history has ever been indicted, let alone prosecuted, let alone locked up for doing what I did. There's just not a single case. And so what happened here is that Obama and his team, Eric Holder, Preet Bharara in New York, these guys decided to make an example of me. And I think that the reason for this was Obama's anger over my movie that I made about him. I know that Obama was upset about the movie because he was raging about it on his own website, barackobama.com. And so this was a vindictive political hit that was kind of aimed at putting me out of business, essentially destroying my credibility, making it impossible for me to make movies, write books. In that sense, it failed, but it still left a cloud over me. I would be a lifelong felon. I would never be able to vote and never have my full rights. And so I'm very grateful to President Trump for giving me those rights back.
Now, Dinesh, of course, the so-called mainstream media says this is symbolism, it's signaling, this is not real justice. What do you say to those who look sideways at this?
Well, I think it's important to just look at what happened. Preet Bharara, my prosecutor, tweeted out yesterday, and he goes, let's just face the facts. Dinesh D'Souza voluntarily pleaded guilty to this offense. Now, this word voluntarily needs to be put into quotation marks because, in reality, this is how this kind of thing happens. The government says to you, we're going to charge you with violating the campaign finance law. Are you going to plead guilty or not guilty? You say, I'm thinking of pleading not guilty. Then the government says, well, all right, we're now going to put a second charge on top of that. This is called filing a false document. You say, well, did I do something else wrong? They go, no, it's the same thing. We're just describing it in a different way and appending a second charge, but this one carries 5 years in federal prison. So essentially, we're going to destroy your life. Now, if you plead guilty to the first charge, we'll drop the second one. The point I want to make here is that this kind of legal bludgeoning tactic is used not only against the guilty, but also against the innocent. It's a way of, in a sense, forcing you to submit. And then, of course, they put on a solemn robe and say, well, he voluntarily pleaded. The voluntary issue here is highly dubious.
Right. And your feeling after spending time in jail, how would it change you?
Well, I was put in a halfway house in San Diego for 8 months, sleeping overnight in a dormitory with actually 120 hardened felons. It's not my normal crowd. It was an eye-opening experience. I came out of it fine. In some ways, I think temperamentally, emotionally, I'm even stronger than I was before. And I've learned a lot. So I don't, in that sense, regret my experience. But I do feel that as an immigrant, just the simple haunting sound of United States of America versus Dinesh D'Souza, an army of FBI agents going after you. And now a congressional committee has a copy of my FBI file, a file that the FBI had been refusing to release to Congress for a long time. And now we kind of know why, because when you look in the file, you see that I'm red flagged as a prominent conservative critic of the Obama administration. Now, why is that in my file? Well, it's in my file because the FBI is signaling to the Holder Justice Department, hey, here's a guy you might want to go after. Here's a guy who's one of your political enemies. And so this is the kind of way the signaling works. The signaling is within the government targeting me for selective prosecution.
Wow. All of that for giving Wendy Long, this New York politician, $20,000. Thank you, Dinesh.
Appreciate your time. Congratulations.
Yeah. All right, let's hand it over to Jillian, who has some more headlines for us. Hey, Jillian.
That's right. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning. Let's get you caught up on some of your stories that we're following, starting with this. A teenager shoots and kills his uncle, who